there is a lot of inequality to the people that are working, and part of that inequality is the complete and utter age discrimination for those under 21. Did the panel not agree that people doing a similar job should get a similar wage, regardless of age, regardless of gender, as in the utter disgrace that we've seen with councils bringing wages down to match them up by gender? And did the panel not agree that we should join together to get an equal wage for those under 21, so it does meet the minimum decency threshold, so they do get the £8 an hour, which might sound ridiculous, but quite frankly, for the majority of people in the panel, all that amounts up to is under 15 grand a year, and I'm pretty sure the majority wouldn't get out of bed for 15 grand a year. It's a complete and utter scandal in this country that is all we get.
Well, can I just add to that, the other crazy thing in all of this is if somebody's on the minimum wage, and it is a minimum, if somebody's on the minimum wage and working a 35-hour week, after they've worked 16 hours, the Chancellor then taxes them. What's the point of giving people a minimum wage when after 16 hours they take it back in tax, and having abolished the 10p tax rate is actually robbing from the poor to give to the rich? That's supposed to be a Labour government for you.
Right. Can I just bring Ian in at this point, and then I'll take your question?
Could I just make the point? I know Mrs McCake's and her family very well, and I know that obviously the troubles they've had, but I've got to pay obviously tribute to the work that our family, and used to work beside one of the family in the college, and I know the college have done a lot to make the work situation better, and we need to do more of that. I'd also like to make the point that Alec made the point about, the best answer to a lot of the questions here is obviously full employment. Well, Labour is committed to full employment, and it's gone further than any government to actually create that. The jobs actually created. Well, as a matter of fact, as well, not only did we actually get as close to full employment, we actually introduced the minimum wage.
Excuse me, everybody. I now know your slogans well enough that I can shout them for you. So can you stop?
Patel left.
Right, Ian.
In the end of the day, I'll say, obviously, we are continuing to be committed to full employment, and we will set up an agency to ensure that the actual goals set by the Labour government in 1945, ditched by the Tories between 1979 and 1997, are continue to go at the top of the agenda.
Could I just ask you one, particularly, we mentioned there the problems of people who are under 21 and the differential rates of the minimum wage. Now, if your age discrimination legislation that was brought in last year had bite, you could take a court case on that, but Labour decided not to make the provision of benefits something that age discrimination law would cover. Now, doesn't that really show where your heart is, because you've taken that mechanism away from young people?
Can I also make the point that somebody who was a student had to work all the way through. There was no such thing as a minimum wage. And you had to work for 4 years at a basic low wage in bars and restaurants.
You got a grant, Ian. You got a grant. No. You got a grant the same as I did, Ian.
I still had to work, Mary.
So,
as you well know.
Excuse me a second. You're making a presumption that the people we're talking about are students. What we're talking about is people who are working the same hours as everyone else, but cannot use ageism legislation to be paid the same as everyone else. Why not?
Well, obviously, because I believe that we've created the minimum wage. It's obviously tiered at the moment, and hopefully that'll be something we move to actually level off.
It's been tiered for 10 years.
Well, move it down like you did with gender.
Okay, right, can I hear
No, speaking as a voluntary sector employee, I'm not paid much more than the minimum wage as it is right now, so it's very galling to hear the Labour Party, which introduced the minimum wage 10 years ago, but has left it tiered in that capacity ever since. Now, I see on a daily basis the effect of benefits traps and the lower pay for under 21 workers in my job working with hard-to-reach young people. And will you let me finish? I see every day of my work, I see guys who can't go on residential courses or training programs because they've got to come back and sign on for their gyro. They can't undertake a 3-week project because they've got to go and have that job interview so they qualify for their job seekers allowance. They're being paid pittance. There's no incentive to get to work at the moment. So we have to change that. We have to change that with a living wage.